Hi friends, what if I tell you there is a unique country where not even a single person belongs to the land? Their ancestors came from all over the world and built a prosperous nation. That country is Mauritius, a 100% migrant country. The story of Mauritius began when it was one of the many nameless, uninhabited islands. In the 10th century, Arab traders discovered it during one of their voyages. They used it as a stopover between India and Africa. They called the island Derby. The Dutch rediscovered this island and considered establishing a colony. In 1598, a Dutch fleet under Admiral van Warwick landed in what is now known as the Grand Port District. They renamed this island Maurice after the name of the Prince of Orange, a Dutch prince. The Dutch tried to create a profitable colony for over a century. They cut down local ebony trees for wood and began producing sugar and arak. However, the colony failed to become profitable and remained isolated from other Dutch colonies. Also, natural calamities like cyclones frequently destroyed crops and houses. So, the Dutch abandoned Maurice in 1710. Under the Dutch, the settlers were mostly European males. Very few European families joined them, as conditions in Mauritius were harsh. As for workers, the Dutch brought slaves from Madagascar, Mozambique, and parts of East Africa. During their occupation, the island's population ranged from a few hundred to a few thousand. When the Dutch abandoned the island, most people left with them. The island remained abandoned for just 5 years before the French arrived to colonize it and renamed it Isle de France. The French started sugarcane and tobacco production on the island. They initially were not very successful in establishing a colony. Their fortune had changed in 1735 when Bertrand Labonnaise became governor. He developed a shipbuilding industry and created a prosperous economy based on sugar production. The island's strategic location between Europe and Asia made it an important stopover for the French, leading to the construction of roads, ports, naval bases, and warehouses. Of course, to achieve this growth, the French relied on a large supply of cheap laborers, who better than slaves. The French procured slaves from Mozambique and Zanzibar to work on plantations and at various construction sites. The slave population transported during the French colonization is estimated to have been between 160,000 and 200,000. France lost the island to Britain because it was part of a greater conflict between France and Britain across Europe, the Atlantic, and the Indian Ocean. In 1810, Britain successfully captured this island and renamed it Mauritius. With its greater resources, Britain greatly expanded sugarcane cultivation and exported sugar to Europe and its colonies. In 1835, Britain abolished slavery. To maintain economic growth, it needed to replace the slaves with a large, cheap workforce. So, Britain introduced an alternative system known as indentured labor. In the past, despite abolishing slavery, indentured laborers' working conditions might not have been better than those of slaves on plantations. At least Britain considered them human, while slaves were treated as goods by the French. Between 1834 and 1921, Britain transported approximately 500,000 bonded laborers from India to Mauritius. These laborers worked on plantations, in factories, in transportation, and at construction sites. Mauritius gained independence from Britain in 1968. Today, Mauritius is one of the richest countries on the African continent. It enjoys a syncretic culture due to its migrant population. From Arab traders to British colonists, from African slaves to Indian laborers, they transformed this uninhabited island into a nation of migrants.